Episode 4 introduces us to...
You're all in the night country now.
Welcome to this video. My name is Christian from BM Premiere, and last week's chilling discovery of Annie's video sends Detective Danvers on a quest to uncover the exact location of those cryptic cave walls. Finding the location of Annie's death becomes a prime focus and the many plot points that are happening so far. We're analyzing all the clues that point Danvers towards an extensive system of hidden ice caves outside town. With Annie's strange video as the key clue, Danvers has strayed into the darkness surrounding the town. But what will they find? We also learn it's December 24 in the town, so it's Christmas Eve, and tensions with the protests at the plan that we saw in the previous episode. They're preparing for those protests where Annie went missing and where the protests are gonna happen, and everything that's escalating so far is building into something. Danvers' relationship with her daughter Leah is on real shaky ground too, so that could explode as well. And it does in this episode, with Leah going into the ice ring and doing a protest, something that it was gonna escalate, but as we know, she decided to move out of the house. That's something that we see. Also, we discover in this episode that the victims' bodies are being moved. After all, it has been 48 hours that they had to investigate, and they're gonna be moved to a new location. This is when we meet Navarro's sister Julia, who's struggling with mental health issues. A lot of trauma is bubbling up. This established early on that other characters are battling trauma in inner darkness, not just Danvers. Now we know that Danvers have a strained relationship with her stepdaughter Leah. Danvers feels isolated with just when she could use some emotional support, and more in Christmas Eve. All of these characters have trauma shaping them, and that's something that I imagine is going to be connected in the next episode. So we open this episode with Danvers getting word that the victims' bodies already being moved, which surprises and troubles her. As Captain Connelly is revealed to be supervising the transport, making Danvers suspicious, he aims to take over the case. There are clear trust issues between them. This adds tension around Danvers fighting to maintain control of the investigation. Finally, Connelly implies he's there to help Danvers save face, given all the chaos recently with the protests, bodies, and a missing suspect. But Danvers pushed back on the help, seeing it as an interference. So there's clear distrust and suspicion forming on Danvers' part. He just wants to support with so much spiraling out of control in the town. The important details that Navarro's sister Julia removed her clothes and arranged them on the same way before walking into the water, just like we saw some of the scientists do as well. The fact that she especially replicated that bizarre, just rubbing and the calm, determined matter of just walking into the ocean, this does suggest this is part of a wider phenomenon, process at work in this exact way. Something is causing them to mimic this haunting, uniform self-destruction. This is definitely reveals key clues tied to the overarching mystery. There's an insightful theory about a potential connection between the water pollution and those visions, as well as the action that we see in some of the characters like Julia and the scientists. What I'm suggesting is that there's something going with the water and the plant that is affecting everyone. Perhaps that plant is releasing certain toxins or some trace of heavy metals that are attacking the neurological function when ingested over long periods, like water or taking a shower. That could explain why people are having visions of the dead, like we see with Julia of her mother, as well as now with Navarro having visions of after she died. We have to recognize the link between the waters and the drinking water, as well as the action and possible hallucination depicted on the show. If contamination is behind this, then stopping the source and cleaning the water could stop these alarming events. And connecting the visions that Julia is having of her mother under her bed, that likely was not random. The show wants us to notice those plot parallel. What I'm suggesting is that Navarro and her sister may both be experiencing these disturbing hallucinations of dead loved ones because of the shared exposure to the contaminated water. That would make sense on why both sisters could have such similar experiences. The populated water could be the root trigger awakening these hallucinations, as well as the actions that they took. This forms a kind of cycle with Julia suffering from the delusions and compulsions. This also connects to Danvers when she saw the one-eyed white bear, as well as the teddy bear that Danvers' son had. So how all of this is connected is really interesting, because that white bear is something that there's some visions connecting to that's something that Navarro saw in her vision. When she wakes up in this location, there's like a hand reaching for Navarro. So that's really interesting. This is an excellent question around how this bear vision ties back to the wider mystery unfolding in the town, since it now seems to be a phenomenon impacting both of our lead investigators. Like, what? Now this episode is all investigating about those ice caves in the region, when the detective questioned the guy and he explains that there was this person
Otis Heiss.
that this person did the mapping, and that is Otis, who we saw at the end of the episode. So what's important about this is that I imagine Otis is going to be in the next episode to go there to those caves and investigate. The fossil examiner then informs the detectives about the network of ice caves, that he explained that these caves were closed off years ago due to accidents and death traps within those caves, connecting to the Annie video. Also, we have a nice scene connecting to Rose and her important backstory and who was she up to this point, and as well as the omens and native mythology of the town. We learned that Rose chose to leave her ambitious career years ago out of her thought of pointlessness of her work, and when Navarro asked what Rose did before Alaska, she admits to being a prominent professor writing serious ideas, but one day she had a thought where she wanted to leave everything and that everything was meaningless. So yes, we get some details about her and her life, that where Rose fled the status and superficiality of that career, pursuing something more grounded. This conversation highlights how Navarro and Rose share certain feelings of existential crisis that drew them each in this vastly different ways to remote Alaska. Another pivotal scene where Detective Navarro enters the home of the equipment expert Oliver, seeking clues and as well equipment. I imagine when they go into the caves, they want this equipment, and left as well the strange stone with the symbolic spiral. So we don't know where Oliver is now. Now, going into the third arc of this episode is where Danvers gets drunk and she goes to Connelly, and they have a discussion about how Danvers had poor people skills and the personal traumas like losing her young son and husband. So there's resentment on both sides. And then in the following morning is when Danvers and Navarro had that conversation about people that died or dead, as well as the connecting white bear to Navarro and Danvers and the meaning of that. What is it? And in my opinion, it's a trauma that when they drink the water, that they have visions of this. That's my theory for now. But anyways, they go together to investigate the mines and as well as the ice cave system that appeared in the plan. And this is when they discover Otis is there, and he is the one that says what happened to Raymond Clark, and he says that he's now in the night country. Obviously, there's so many questions about this. What really happened to Raymond Clark? And what happened to Annie? What is in those ice caves? What is the night country? There's so many questions, and now we're in episode 4, only 2 more episodes to go. Now, I imagine in the next episode, we're going to see Danvers taking Otis to those caves to investigate. They need someone that can map them and take them there. And also throughout this, we see the tree, like a Christmas tree, and it's the same tree that is in the house of Danvers. So what is going on? And Julia is also there, like the vision. And this is when, in my opinion, Navarro is well, and we see how Navarro is dealing with the death of her sister Julia, even going into a fight. So when she gets this, shock of seeing her dead sister, but the meaning of the tree is really interesting. Maybe they're thinking about it, like what's going on. Now, Navarro, in my opinion, I believe she's in a state of shock after Navarro's sister Julia goes, and drowns. So here, Navarro is dealing with grief and frustration and boil over as she gets into this physical altercation early on in the episode, and now this is a lot. But after all, I believe it's just part of the hallucinations by the water, causing everyone to go into the psychosis, hurting themselves. Anyways, that's my breakdown of this episode. This is my second time I record this, so I'm sorry if I'm off and my voice is just, I had to record all of this again because when I recorded the first time, I was not recording. So things that happen when you try to do a video, but I hope you enjoyed it. Leave your comments and theories below. What's going on? There's so much things and so many questions that I just want to continue watching. I cannot wait for the next episode. Anyways, my name is Christian from Being Premiere, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye, one.